Jujutsu Kaisen ended without even a proper funeral for our GOAT Gojo. I'd say the ending isn't as bad as the memes implied it would be, but it still leaves a lot to be desired, which is why I went back to all the Jujutsu Kaisen discussion boards and found the 10 Jujutsu Kaisen ending fan theories that may or may not have been better than the actual ending. Though before we continue, how about liking the video and also subscribing to the channel? Here at AJAnime, we make quick yet in-depth videos on all things anime, so as long as that's your thing, you're in the right place. Well, with that said, here are the 10 Jujutsu Kaisen ending fan theories that were better than the ending. Don't take it too seriously though. This is just supposed to be a little fun video to scratch your Jujutsu Kaisen itch, because let's get real guys, there aren't going to be any new chapters from here on out. Starting with the first one, we have the kind of ending that would have been unprecedented for Jujutsu Kaisen standards. This theory imagines a scenario where Yuji and the others successfully kill Sukuna and thwart Kenjaku's plans. However, everyone but Yuji dies, and Yuji is then blamed for all the deaths and massacres that happened in Shibuya and Shinjuku, as well as in other parts of Tokyo. Countries such as the United States and China would want their scientists to experiment with Yuji to exploit and understand cursed energy, but the Japanese government would see it more fitting to publicly execute Yuji. The final chapter would be Yuji dying in front of the entire world. It would be similar to the way Gol D. Roger died in One Piece, and the cool thing about this is going to be how Yuji would smile in the face of death. He'll find it ironic because his grandfather wanted him to be surrounded by people at the time of his death, and guess what? He is being executed in front of the entire world. But the collective guilt from being Sukuna's vessel would cause Yuji to accept his death. He would plead guilty in front of the United Nations Security Council and get executed by the Japanese government a few days later. The Jujutsu Society would continue in the shadows, and the disaster-level curses would eventually be reborn a century or two later, but as for Yuji and his friends, their story would end. The second theory on this list is going to sound silly, but hear me out because it goes hard. The theory states that Yuta with the 6 eyes would be able to be as efficient as Gojo is with his unlimited void. He may be able to expand his authentic mutual love domain to the size of Japan. He'll then use Jacob's ladder and erase all cursed spirits. Just like that, a new world will be created, a world that is free of cursed energy. No, seriously though. Although this theory is clearly fanfiction tier at its best, it's still fun to explore the idea of an ending where the world breaks free of cursed energy just like Yuki Tsukumo intended. This would mean heavenly restriction for all. If nobody has cursed energy, everyone would be a pure mutant like Toji and Maki, but the world will, of course, become a more equal place. Moving on to the third theory, we're going to talk about the idea that Giga had 2 endings in mind. Either everyone dies and Yuji lives, or Yuji dies and everyone lives. Of course, this sounds silly in hindsight, but guys, the great majority of the Jujutsu Kaisen ending theories center around this idea that Giga had these 2 endings planned in advance. Now, these 2 planned endings are about Yuji's grandfather's last words, about how when it's Yuji's time to go, he better make sure that he is surrounded by others. If only Yuji lives and everyone else dies, then that'd be a poetic and metaphoric contrast to what his grandfather said. If Yuji dies but everyone else lives, Yuji's final moments would be exactly what his grandfather wanted them to be. For our fourth theory, we have something that people were theorizing all the way back to when Gojo was still sealed in the prison realm. It basically came down to how by the time Gojo makes it out of the prison realm, all the bad guys would have already won. Sukuna, Kenjaku, and the disaster curses would win. The world will succumb to cursed energy. When Gojo is eventually released one way or the other, he may take down the disaster curses and even Sukuna, but it'd be a mockery of the Superman troupe. Even though he is the strongest, he won't be able to save anyone. In this context, it'd be Gojo who is left all alone. The fifth theory is similar, but it's more about the disaster-level cursed spirits actually becoming true humans. Just like how people thought Attack on Titan would pull a true Dark Shonen ending, but many also speculated that Jujutsu Kaisen would do the same. We're talking about an ending where the disaster-level curses become true humans, Kenjaku gets the chance to activate the merger, and Sukuna is also still around. The great irony about this will be how Sukuna may kill the disasters out of pure boredom before starting the merger with Kenjaku. It's going to be similar to the Devilman Crybaby ending, except it'd feel much more raw because unlike Devilman Crybaby, Jujutsu Kaisen is a battle shonen. Moving on to the sixth theory. This one is about Sukuna starting the merger after getting defeated by Yuji. However, Megumi would take over the body and use Maharaga's ability to adapt to the merger. This is not a joke. Maharaga has been canonically stated to be a Shikigami who can adapt to any and all phenomena. If he can adapt to infinity, you bet he can adapt to the merger, and who knows, he may even nullify it. Though, the thing is, Maharaga is permanently gone. When Gojo killed Maharaga in chapter 235, Maharaga died as a tamed Shikigami, so until somebody else in the future inherits the 10 Shadows technique, Maharaga is gone. However, let me point out that Megumi can still use Maharaga's ability to adapt to any phenomenon, because that ability was spread among the other Shikigami still alive. When a tamed 10 Shadows Shikigami dies, their ability is inherited by the other Shikigami still around. Plus, if we consider how Megumi would be much stronger thanks to the muscle memory from Sukuna using his body, Megumi may be able to create something similar to Cursed Beast Agito that can also use Maharaga's ability. Megumi will then use this Shikigami to adapt to the merger. The merger will be nullified along with Japan's cursed energy monopoly. In fact, cursed energy itself will be nullified. Megumi may die, as this will be a last-ditch attempt to fix up the mess. Sukuna will look like the slop he looked like in chapter 268, but of course, when cursed energy is nullified, he'll also die. A better world will be born, and it'd be a cool ending. The 7th theory is about a battle between Yuji and Kenjaku. It's funny how even though Kenjaku was sentimental enough to thank Yuji's senpais for being friends with Yuji, we never got any proper character interaction with them. Now this is very much a popular theory, but everyone thought that even if Gojo dies, he'd beat Sukuna to the point that the rest of them can first take care of Sukuna and then jump Kenjaku. Kenjaku being the final antagonist has always been a really popular theory. It also makes sense, because although both Kenjaku and Sukuna share a connection with Yuji, Kenjaku has actual goals and motives, which in turn make him a better antagonistic figure overall. Ultimately, the theory implied that Yuji, the culmination of Kenjaku's 1,000 years-long plan, would also be the one who foils it all. It was going to be ironic. Plus, imagine something similar to Kenjaku's conversation with Yuki, where they debate on humanity's evolution. Imagine if Yuji gave Kenjaku a more concrete and pragmatic answer, like how he doesn't want humanity to enter its next stage. We know that Yuki said that the next stage of humanity lies in breaking away from cursed energy, and Kenjaku said that the next stage of humanity lies in optimizing cursed energy. As for Yuji, he may say something like how humanity doesn't need its next stage. Things are fine as they are. Humanity can coexist with cursed energy. However, Yuji will then glare at Kenjaku and tell him that he has to go. The thing about this theory is that even if Sukuna is still around in one way or the other, Yuji can also reabsorb Sukuna and kill himself right in front of Kenjaku, hence, in turn, making a complete and utter mockery of the 1,000 years that Kenjaku spent planning his ultimate plan. Kenjaku can then be killed by Megumi and Nobara. The 8th ending theory is about a world war for cursed energy, even if Yuji and the sorcerers win against curses and curse users like Sukuna and Kenjaku. Heck, even if the merger never happens, the point will remain that greed and selfishness isn't exclusive to curses. The United States will experiment on the few sorcerers they capture, and news of this will spread thanks to the intelligence agencies of all the major powers. There will be a war between powerful nations to secure cursed energy, and Japan will be destroyed. The final page could be Yuji looking at the destroyed Japan from high elevation while reminiscing about his friends and teachers. It'd be a surreal, sentimental, and also a rightfully tragic end to the story. It'd make it clear that curses are, after all, born from the negative energy of humans. It'd also make it clear that even if there's no merger, there are other ways for humanity to destroy itself. The 9th theory is about how there would be another arc after Sukuna and Kenjaku are taken down. This arc would be about re-establishing the status quo as envisioned by Gojo. It would be about reforming the Jujutsu Society, taking the political monopoly away from the big three families, while also simultaneously expanding on both the modern day and the Heian era lore. We're talking about an arc that expands on the world building, an arc where Gojo's students rebuild the society from scratch. It'd be a homage to all the themes of the story, and it would also serve to wind up a lot of the plot points that were introduced but ultimately discarded. I mean, if we can get simple domain lore in the second last chapter, we could have easily gotten a short 1 or 2 volumes long arc about the lore, the world building, and the reestablishment of Jujutsu Society. Now finally, we have one more theory, and this one is not a theory as much as it's about treating the characters with respect. Gojo died and Chozo sacrificed himself, and yet we have the gang literally bickering and acting stupid in chapter 270 instead of mourning the losses. They were acting as though it was just a game, and they didn't just win against the strongest sorcerer in history. Imagine if we saw everyone mourn Gojo's death. What if now that he was gone, everyone finally realized that he was more than just the strongest? He was their teacher, he was their friend. Just imagine an ending where Gojo gets a proper funeral and the respect he deserves. How about honoring Chozo and giving him a funeral as well? Because even though he was a cursed womb death painting, he died in the most human way possible. Why not just give him a funeral like he was also human? Not just a human, but also Yuji's brother. Honestly, if there was just one more chapter with moments of silence and appreciation for the sorcerers who lost their lives, the ending would have been so much better and so much more complete. Instead, we don't even know what happened to Gojo's body. The cast is more worried about how they didn't win in the most optimal way possible, and Yuji barely remembers Chozo anymore. What the hell? Overall, this was just a video with random interesting ideas on how the ending could have gone differently. There's also a couple of other theories as well, like how Sukuna would ultimately suffer some serious backlash because of the way he was spamming binding vows, or how Gojo would temporarily take over Yuta's body, much like how Geto's body reacted in Shibuya even though it had already been a year since Geto's death. Of course, I'm sure you guys have a lot to say about these theories, and also about the theories that weren't mentioned in this video, so come on, let us continue the conversation in the comments section down below. Do like the video, and of course also subscribe to our channel AJAnime and hit the bell icon so that you're the first to know whenever I cook up something new and exciting. And always remember guys, the best ending wasn't about the Jujutsu or the Kaisen, it was about the friends we made along the way. See you in the next one.